The rain was relentless, pounding the windshield of John Kennedy's old pickup truck as he navigated the empty stretch of Highway 17. It was the kind of storm that made you question why you'd left the house at all, but John, a 42-year-old mechanic with a heart too stubborn to quit, was on his way home from a 12-hour shift. His eyes were heavy, his hands calloused, and his mind tangled with the weight of unpaid bills and a custody battle that seemed to have no end. Then, through the blur of rain, he saw it, a soggy cardboard sign held by a shivering figure on the side of the road. $5 hugs, need to feed my kids. John's foot eased off the gas. He didn't have $5 to spare, not really, but something about that sign, about the audacity of hope in a storm, made him pull over. The figure was a woman, maybe in her late 30s, her rain-soaked hoodie clinging to her frame. Her name was Maria, and her dark eyes carried a mix of desperation and defiance. John rolled down his window, rain pelting his arm, and asked, "You serious about that sign?" Maria nodded, her voice barely audible over the storm. "I'm not begging. I'm offering something. A hug for $5. It's all I've got left to give." John hesitated. He wasn't the hugging type. Hadn't been since his wife left 3 years ago, taking their daughter, Lily, with her. But Maria's eyes held something familiar, a quiet strength he'd seen in himself on his worst days. He reached into his wallet, pulled out a crumpled $5 bill, and said, "All right. One hug." Maria's face softened, and she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him through the open window. It wasn't just a hug, it was a lifeline. Her embrace was warm, fierce, like she was pouring every ounce of her resolve into it. John felt something crack inside him, a wall he'd built to keep the world out. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet, but not from the rain. "Thank you," she whispered. "My kids, they haven't eaten since yesterday." John's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and drove off, the image of Maria's sign burning in his mind. The next day, the rain had stopped, but John couldn't shake the encounter. He found himself driving back to that same spot on Highway 17, half expecting Maria to be gone. But there she was, same sign, same hoodie, though now it was dry and the sun cast a faint glow on her tired face. This time, John didn't just stop for a hug. He asked her story. Maria was a single mother of 2, Layla and Mateo, ages 7 and 4. Her husband had died in a construction accident 2 years prior, and the insurance money ran out faster than the grief. She'd lost her job as a cashier when the store closed, and the shelter they were staying at was threatening to turn them away if she couldn't pay the weekly fee. The $5 hug idea came from desperation, but also from a belief that human connection was worth something, even if the world didn't agree. John listened, his hands gripping the steering wheel. He wasn't rich, far from it. His own life was a mess, with a divorce lawyer breathing down his neck and a daughter he only saw every other weekend. But Maria's story hit him hard. He saw Lily in her kids, saw his own struggles in her fight to keep going. "You shouldn't have to sell hugs," he said finally. "Let me help." Maria shook her head, pride flaring in her eyes. "I don't take charity. I earn my way." John respected that, but he wasn't about to let her stand on that highway alone. He offered her a deal. He'd bring her food for the kids, and in return, she'd let him fix up the old bike she used to get around. It wasn't charity, it was a trade. Over the next week, John became a regular on Highway 17. He'd bring sandwiches, fruit, whatever he could afford, and Maria would let him tinker with her bike or share stories about her kids. Layla loved drawing, and Mateo was obsessed with dinosaurs. John found himself smiling more, thinking about those kids, about Maria's resilience. But the challenges kept coming. The shelter gave Maria a final notice: pay $200 by the end of the month or they'd be out. John didn't have that kind of money, but he had an idea. He posted about Maria's situation on a local community board online, leaving out her name but sharing her story and her $5 hug sign. He didn't expect much, but within hours, people were commenting, offering food, clothes, even small donations. A local diner owner, touched by the story, offered Maria a part-time job as a server. The response was overwhelming, but Maria was hesitant. She didn't want to be a sob story, didn't want people's pity. John sat her down one evening, the two of them sharing a thermos of coffee as the kids played nearby. "This isn't pity," he told her. "It's people seeing what I see, a fighter who deserves a break." Maria's eyes glistened, but she nodded. She took the job at the diner, and with the community's help, she paid the shelter fee. John even rallied his buddies at the auto shop to fix up an old car someone donated, giving Maria a way to get to work without relying on that rickety bike. But the real turning point came when John brought Lily to meet Maria's kids. It was a Saturday, his weekend with his daughter, and he wanted her to see what he'd been up to. Lily, a shy 9-year-old with her father's hazel eyes, was nervous at first, but Layla's drawings and Mateo's dinosaur facts broke the ice. The kids laughed and played, and John watched Maria smile in a way he hadn't seen before. That day, something shifted. John realized he wasn't just helping Maria, he was rebuilding something in himself, too. The hugs he'd bought weren't just for her kids, they were healing him, reminding him he could still make a difference, even when his own life felt broken. Months later, Maria and her kids moved into a small apartment, paid for with her diner wages and a community fundraiser John had quietly organized. The $5 hug sign was gone, replaced by a new one Maria hung in her diner's window: "Free hugs, because we're all in this together." John became a regular at the diner, not just for the coffee but for the warmth of Maria's smile and the chaos of her kids, who called him Uncle John. Lily started spending more time with them, and John's ex-wife, seeing the change in him, softened on the custody terms. One evening, as the sun set over Highway 17, John and Maria sat outside the diner, watching the kids chase fireflies. "You didn't just stop for a hug," Maria said, her voice thick with gratitude. "You stopped for us." John shrugged, embarrassed. "You gave me something, too," he said. "A reason to keep going." The storm that had brought them together was long gone, but its echoes lingered, a reminder that sometimes, a $5 hug could change everything. The story of John and Maria spread beyond their small town, inspiring others to look for the signs, literal and figurative, that someone needed help. It wasn't about money or grand gestures, it was about seeing people, really seeing them, and offering what you could, even if it was just a moment of connection. For John, it was a lesson in hope, in second chances, in the power of a single stop on a rainy highway. And for anyone who heard their story, it was a call to action, to pull over, to listen, to hug, and to believe that even in the hardest storms, kindness could light the way.